Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our Colleen EDC Coffee Chat. We are excited to have our partners on today from the Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship. Both Rick Dickinson and Micah Jeanette have joined us, and wave, guys. And they're going to be talking about their programs and that they offer in Colleen and Jefferson counties. And so just a few housekeeping items. If you would please keep yourself on mute so we don't inadvertently pick up any background noise, dogs barking and the like. That would be really appreciated. And then if you have anything you want to ask, you can either put it in the chat and we'll read it for you, or you can raise your hand and ask Rick or Micah a question. We like this to be fairly interactive. And so again, thank you for joining us this morning. With that, Rick and Micah, do you guys want to take it away? And thanks again for being here this morning and sharing all about your programs.
Yeah, well, thank you for having us. We really appreciate the opportunity to, I guess, keep introducing ourselves to the community. We are the Center for Inclusive Entrepreneurship, which is a mouthful, so CIE is perfectly fine. We actually are coming up on our 5-year anniversary of being here on the peninsula. And so I'm going to treat this a little bit as kind of a 5-year report. One thing I will say, if a question comes in that I'm going to address later, I'll just push it off. Otherwise, as Colleen said, happy to field questions as we roll. And so you'll notice there's 2 logos on there. There's our logo, and then there is the SBDC logo, because we are a subrecipient of the SBDC. We are part of the SBDC effectively, but we are a part of the SBDC. We're an SBDC center with a bit of a different mandate, and we'll get into that more as we roll along and talk about what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. So, thank you, Sharon Ann. SBDC is the Small Business Development Center, and I'm not sharing my screen yet. Yes, thank you, Micah. Micah messaged me like, "Hey, dipshit." All right. So yeah, and Sharon Ann is the SBDC advisor here on the peninsula, and we work closely together, sometimes tag teaming with clients, and other times handing clients off as appropriate for whoever's the best fit. So I guess first of all, let's just we'll introduce ourselves. Micah, why don't you go first?
Yeah, I'm Micah Jeanette. I'm one of the business advisors out here. And before I was doing this, I had a career in corporate accounting and then a little bit of tribal grant management. So luckily, when those are 2 of the biggest things that small business owners struggle with, knowing how to do their books and how to deal with the government. So I'm here to help them.
Awesome. And we really complement each other well, because my career was in marketing before I went back and got my MBA. And so Micah and I are really kind of the dream team, tag team. Between the 2 of us, there's really nobody we can't help. And if we do have a gap, then there are other resources we can pull in. And in fact, we're going to tag team today's presentation. So I'm going to take the first part of it, and then Micah will jump in toward the end. So, all right. So just real quickly, gonna just give you a sense of where we work. We cover Colleen and Jefferson County, and I don't know why the text over there is looking weird, but ignore that. It looked fine. It looked fine when we put it together. But yeah, so we have 2 offices. We work, our main office is in the Port of Port Angeles building in Port Angeles. And then we also have office space that we use at the EDC Team Jefferson office in Port Townsend. We work from Brennan to Neah Bay and Port Townsend to La Push, all across both counties. And those Orange stars are where Micah and I live. He's out in Joyce. I'm in Squim. And then the yellow stars are, we're gonna tell a few client stories later in the presentation. We just kind of wanted to position those for you to kind of see where they're at. So that gives you a sense of where we are. So we are kind of an interesting organization that we're both an economic development organization, but also we have a focus on personal development. Where we work is really right at the grassroots. We focus primarily on folks who might not otherwise have an opportunity to start a business or be an entrepreneur. And so we've developed a program and curriculum and an approach that really focuses on those folks that have any kind of a barrier to access. We are able to step in and give them the support and the information and the access to resources that they need to be able to take that first step. And so, and we really do think of it as first step. And what we'll do is we have, we will kind of take this approach of no wrong door, and we believe anybody can start a small business. Almost everybody has a gap, has a challenge, and we're able to help folks identify those and fill those. So our goal, and I will say that we also focus on working in specifically rural economies. And we really focus on that local and getting an economy that works for locals. So the way we do that is that, these entrepreneurs are facing, all entrepreneurs face challenges, but especially anybody that maybe doesn't have a history of business ownership in their family, or they lack certain resources. But we really take the approach of starting with what you have and who you know, and really starting small, taking that very first step that will then finance the next step and the next step. So entrepreneurs, they need basic just knowledge. We have so many folks come to us like, I have this idea, I want to start a business, I don't know where to start. And so that's something we provide. We also help give them the business skills that they need to evaluate a business idea, be able to operate a business, and manage their finances. You really need all three legs of that stool to be successful. And so we are able to teach them both in our classes and in our one-on-one technical assistance. We also are kind of the experts on, if you're not bankable, we can figure out where to get you that little bit of money that you need to get rolling. Typically, we say less than $50,000 to capitalize, but really most of our clients are less than 10, and sometimes 1,000. But if you don't have that $1,000, you can't start your business. So really thinking about, how do we get folks that first little seed funding to get a business rolling. And then finally, that last item, a lot of times folks just need confidence. So sometimes what we're really doing is right on the line of life coaching and just helping people with their mindset and their confidence and understanding, and being a little bit of a cheerleader, like, yeah, you can do this. You've got this. Here's what you have. Here's what you lack, and here's where you can find it. So that's what we do. The way we do it is we really just, we help people bridge that gap. And so some of our specific things that we do is every month, although August is our month off, but every month we teach a class called Start Simple. And really, this is a 4-session class, 2 hours, and we walk people through what it takes to be an entrepreneur, really getting a clear picture of their personal finances, so you can kind of know what's the goalpost, what does this business need to generate for you, and what do you have available right now to get it rolling. And also, because if you are going to run a business, you've got to be very, very solid and deep in your numbers, and a good place for folks to start is those numbers that they already know, which is their personal budget. So, and then we talk about, we really help them understand how to evaluate their market, identify their market, get really clear about what it is they're selling and how they can differentiate it from other folks providing similar solutions so they can really message properly. And then we get into the numbers, and we walk people through their income, their expenses, cost of goods sold. We help them understand that, and then we put it all together to help them get a sense of, okay, what's my break even? How many sales or customers do I need to break even and pay my bills? And then how's this going to cash flow? How much upfront money am I going to need to make this work? And a lot of our folks coming in don't have any experience with this. We have some tools that we could show you later, but so we have this curriculum and some spreadsheets that really helps them distill this and just get a much better sense of what their business model actually is and whether it's going to work. And sometimes, the goal really is to make your mistakes on paper. Sometimes people are like, wow, this idea I had isn't going to work the way I thought about it. And sometimes we'll have folks, we've been on the peninsula 5 years now. We've had folks who come take our class. They decide, no, I can't do this right now, or this isn't going to work. And then 2 years later, they come back and they do it again, and they launch a business. And also, if somebody's like, you know what, I want to give this a try. All I need is $500. I'm going to test this thing. And if it doesn't work, you know what, they learned. And so we like to really rethink this idea of business failure. Because sometimes it's really like, oh, I learned. Now my next one, I'm going to have a lot more tools and a lot better understanding of how to go about doing this. And also when a business closes, it's not always a failure. There are very successful businesses where, life circumstances change. People are like, oh, I actually I'm taking my family to a different community, or, there's a job opportunity that came up and it looks really good. There are all sorts of reasons a business closes that. So we like to really reframe this kind of concept of business failure. And absolutely, there are certain businesses that they get rolling and we didn't prove it on paper, but it's just not going to work. And we can help them unwind things as well. So we really basically look at start simple as the front door, leading to our technical assistance. 1 year, 2 year, we just walk alongside folks, meet every couple of weeks or once a month, whatever's needed. And that's how we work. And I didn't mention Start Lean. So Start Lean is a class that we offer 3 or 4 times a year. And it's a different approach. It's not perfectly suited for everybody, but if you're right at that stage where you are launching, it takes a lean launch approach and really helps you dive in, get your hands dirty, validate your market, really see get in there and talk to your customers, find out what they actually want, find out what is actually going to work, and then roll it out. So that's more of a how to start your business. Start simple is, should I start this business? And Start Lean is how to start it and go do it. And Start Simple, we do still have a lot of folks who are, maybe they've already launched their business, but they're very early stage and still trying to figure it out. And that is, Start Simple is also a really good fit for them because it just gives you a lot of clarity about your business model in a short amount of time. So we've had a lot of people really value that class. We've had a lot of really good responses. So, and then we also wanted to mention just a couple other things. So we work with a whole range of folks, but we work definitely with DVR, Department of Vocational Rehabilitation, or the tribal version of that, TVR. And we've helped a lot of folks get a business rolling that are dealing with disabilities or other barriers that really quite often, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but that sometimes self-employment is the best form of employment. And so we've helped people get funding through those organizations. either to get training or to get seed funding or to, whatever they need to kind of get that business rolling. And then the other program I want to mention is SEAP, or the Self-Employment Assistance Program. This is through ESD, Economic Security Department, and WorkSource. And this is effectively, if you are receiving unemployment benefits, if you've been laid off or whatever, you can apply to this program. If you say, hey, I don't want to get another job, I want to create my own job, you can apply for this. And if you're a fit for the program, they will approve you to still receive your unemployment benefits, but instead of doing job search activities, you work with us. We set up milestones. You'll take that Start Simple, and then we just walk you through the process. And it's great for those folks because it kind of gives them a runway or a base income as they're launching their business. And we are the only boots on the ground SEAP provider here on the peninsula. And we work real closely with WorkSource, and they send a lot of folks our way. So I want to also let people know about that. So the technical assistance piece, it is a lot of times, like I said, just giving them confidence. But a lot of times it's like, I don't know, like, do I go to the Secretary of State to go to DOR? What about L&I? And we just kind of help them navigate all of that bureaucracy, help them get through the paperwork and all the registration pieces, make sure they have everything set. And we also will do a lot of business strategy. Okay, how are you gonna approach your market? What's your supply chain? All of the different pieces of operating a business we can help them with. And then finally, a lot of what we do is we just connect people to other resources that they don't necessarily know how to access. We are, and as part of the SBDC, we have a bunch of market intelligence, market research resources available. We also have connections with the business liaison team for Department of Commerce and Labor and Industries, and we have and other organizations. You want to start a cooperative? Great, we can connect you with the Northwest Cooperative Development Center. We have relationships, and we can help our clients access those same resources. So that's a lot of what we do. And then I think I'm gonna do one more slide. And when our middle name is inclusive, and we'd just like to clarify like what we mean by that. Who is that? And it's kind of everybody. So, we really focus on a wide range of populations and folks. We did an accelerator last year where it was specifically women entrepreneurs. We partnered with Women United of Clallam County on that. It was really, really awesome to have a bunch of women entrepreneurs in a room and supporting each other. So all of these, folks who've been incarcerated can find it very challenging to get work. Folks with disabilities, a lot of these we've built our program really around the folks with the most challenges. So it's not that we exclude people, but we focus on the folks that have more of these barriers to access. Anything you want to add about that, Micah?
No, or a little bit. And I think because we've developed the program for the people who have the most challenges, we've even noticed that people who come in thinking that there's nothing standing between them and their business ownership are like, oh yeah, that might be a problem, and I wouldn't have noticed it until it was staring me in the face.
Yeah. All right, I'm just checking the chat. Any questions at this point? Happy to field them.
Sharon Ann wrote Spanish.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Good catch. So we do work in 2 other regions in the state. And in those regions, all of our business advisors are bilingual Spanish speakers. And so we are able to provide Spanish language support for our clients. In fact, we have several clients right now out in the Forks area who are using our services through one of our Spanish-speaking advisors. And we actually are partnering closely with the small group. I always forget their name, but Forks Human Rights Group that is from that community, and we're looking at what are their needs, how can we serve them. And I guess I should have said, you know, we've also recently done a training out in Nia Bay. So we're reaching out and going out to those really harder to reach areas. And so I guess that's relevant to this slide, is that we kind of look for where are folks who just aren't services aren't as available to them. And that's where we try to put our attention. We're that organization where if you would have fallen through the cracks, we're there to catch you. A couple questions where, oh, thank you, Micah. So yeah, the place to start is our website. And if you are actually thinking about starting a business, we highly recommend doing our Start Simple class. It really will help you get a sense of where you're at and what you need, and it helps us get that sense as well. But also, one of our core values I should have mentioned is we really value community and building a community of entrepreneurs. And that definitely happens in that Start Simple class. I almost every month entrepreneurs meet each other and like, oh, we could help each other. We could help each other. And now, one thing I will say is that through our, as part of the SBA and the SBDC, we have strict client confidentiality. We have to protect their privacy. And we can only talk about them if they give us permission to. But a lot of times we will be working with one client and we'll be like, there's this other client that could really benefit you. Can you give us permission to introduce you? Would you like the introduction? Yes. Then we have to go to the other person and say, would you be interested in meeting another of our clients? And we make so many connections that way as well. And then Paul, I see your question. So yeah, so again, success, failure, you're asking to what degree are prospective business owners taking advantage of your services? I don't know what you mean by that necessarily. I'm going to go through some numbers here in a minute, which might help answer that. And again, success rate, not everybody who takes our class is ready to start a business, and the class helps them understand that. And again, what is failure? So we really just take the perspective that there will definitely be drop off. And if we figure if we get 10%, and again, because we work with the most challenged folks. So if we get 10% of our clients that come through and have started a business and had some measure of success, we feel like we're doing great. I think we're exceeding that 10%, but that's we feel like if that's happening, we are helping folks build wealth, gain agency, become leaders in the community, and ultimately provide more businesses and more services for everyone on this call. Something that might not have been in the community otherwise is now in the community. Yeah, and Micah, good response. As far, our clients are the experts in what they do. We learn stuff every day. We're constantly learning, which is great because then we are then able to apply that to future clients. But they know how to do what they do. They just don't know how to turn it into a business that's thriving. And so that's where we step in and help. Did that answer your question, Paul? Biggest impediment to creating a new business. Again, that varies from person to person. A lot of times it is money can be the barrier, but really sometimes it's It can be organizational skills or, you know, I don't really like social media. How am I going to market my, so it really just is across the board. And what we're able to do is help people get really clear about their biggest challenges and then figure out how to overcome those, whether that's outsourcing something. I hate numbers. Okay, you need to outsource your bookkeeping, and we'll help you find a bookkeeper. But you're also still going to have to know your numbers enough to make sure that you're working. So it really is, that's where we get into the one-on-one technical assistance and just help them get really clear about what challenges they're facing, and then help them overcome those.
Yeah, and I'll add something to that. And I think the impediments are because of the approach we take, we're able to find like the really personal impediments for people. Um, Late last year, I had a client who probably didn't need me for much. However, he was profoundly dyslexic. So he had tried to start a business a couple of times and was consistently misreading the paperwork or filling it out, answering questions that they weren't actually asking. So we spent a few hours just sort of looking over his shoulder and helping him make sure that he was answering the questions in the way he needed. And so far this year, he's now made as much working for himself as he made all of last year working for somebody else.
Yeah. DQ, yeah, absolutely. You can totally train and take the training and volunteer at the same time, because, and that's what's so lovely about it, is you've got some background that our clients could benefit from. But we also have some things that you could benefit from. So absolutely. And we'll get to that later. We're going to talk about how you can help. And we definitely are always looking for mentors. We do have a mentorship program. And we love to involve community members who have a particular skill, and bring that to bear, on helping our clients. There's a couple steps that have to be done to do that. But we call that leveraged support, within the SBDC. And so, happy to, would love to. John, I'm looking, oh, Mikey, you just answered that. Yeah. Absolutely send him our way. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. That's exactly the type of folks that we love to work with. So, we'll talk through that, at the end, but also we're gonna have our direct contact information at the end, so you can provide that to him as well. Yeah, or you can also provide his information to us and we can reach out, whatever is the best way. So, all right. So, yeah, well, yeah, that's great. I do think that, sorry, referring to John's chat message, nervous for him to not jump too early. Yeah, absolutely. We can help kind of guide that, right size that. And I should say also that in addition to our English Start Simple classes, we are now offering our Start Simple class in Spanish statewide every other month. It's via Zoom. All of our training is via Zoom at this. Well, no, that's not true. All of the training I provide is via Zoom. We do have in-person Spanish language Start Simple classes happening in our other regions. But every other month, we're having the Spanish Start Simple offered online on Zoom. And so if that is their preferred language, they can also get that curriculum in Spanish. So yeah, we have, and John's saying his son is good, dad not good, and hard to communicate. Yeah, and we see that a lot. There's often somebody who's more comfortable in English who acts as the spokesman and translator. And we're very, very comfortable with those situations. We deal with that a lot. So yeah, absolutely. I'll just say we are the perfect fit for your gardener. So, all right. So I want to jump in a little bit. We're going to now start to talk about, okay, what have we done for you lately? But I actually want to start with kind of looking back over the 5 years. Oh, and I just realized I did not update our client served number. It's It's actually higher than that. It's about 500 now. And so we have I just helped a ton of clients here in, and these numbers are all Jefferson Clallam because we work across the peninsula. And we definitely, when COVID hit, we did sort of shift gears a little bit, and it was a lot of helping existing businesses who needed to get access to all the different COVID relief programs and packages. But then very quickly, thankfully, we hired Micah, and I was able to pivot back to helping people start businesses, which surprisingly, there were a lot of businesses being started during COVID. A lot of people were like, oh, this is our opportunity to actually start that business I've been wanting to start. So we've had 89 new businesses over the time that we've been here. And what we've been able to capture, at least from what clients have reported to us, is $3 million in increased revenue, and $4.5 million in capital funding. The number that I didn't put on here that I probably should have is what we really track, and what now the SBDC, SBA is wanting to track, is not just the dollar number of capital funding. And again, that's not really our game. We're not working with the bigger businesses. We're working with the little guys. It's really more about how many instances of capital infusion have you been able to help clients get. And that number is for all time is right around 120, maybe a little higher, but for this year, did you say it's 30, Micah?
That was a guess.
Yeah, I looked it up. That looked about right. We didn't have our very latest numbers in there, but yeah, I think it's about 30 so far this year. 30 clients who've been able to get funding. So, and then so this is what we've done in 2024. And one of the things about the work that we do is the fact that we've had 5 years to do this, and that we've been supported to do this for 5 years, we're really starting to just kind of build momentum, kind of like our small businesses do. They start small, and then they grow and they grow and they grow. And so this year our numbers are higher than they've ever been. So we've served 106 clients so far, both with training and technical support, 453 advising hours. We've already, just in the first half of the year, we've helped start 18 new businesses this year. And then you can see the revenue and capital funding numbers. So we are excited because we're really seeing this model just start to gain momentum and really take off. And so we are just, we're very excited, very busy, but it's a lot of fun for us to see how many folks we're able to help as word spreads and as momentum builds. 31 separate investments so far this year, Micah threw in the chat. So and with that, I'm going to hand it off to Micah, and I'll just tell me when you want to move to the next slide.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of what we did, a little bit of who we are. But legitimately, we are probably the two least important people in CIE. It's the businesses that we help get going. And like Rick mentioned, there is a confidentiality. We can't talk about it. But I would guess that most of you in this call have interacted with somebody who's come to us to assistance or started using one of our classes. Here's a whole set of businesses that we have helped start. And like we were talking about, when we focus on the individuals who have a skill and are trying to get a business started, it really ends up starting a lot of those businesses that the community needs to support itself. We've got, I use soap this morning. I'll use soap tomorrow. I'll use soap hopefully every day for the rest of my life. If you ever got junk you need moved away, either you're doing it yourself or there's somebody with a trailer and a truck and a bit of a dream to be able to work around their own schedule. Thank you. Yeah, next slide. But we did get some people to sign the form we need to be able to talk about them in detail. So this is a client we've got over in Jefferson, but Michaela grew up in Port Angeles, so we feel like it's a good way to talk about it. Jay, her husband, worked in a shipyard in Bremerton, Bainbridge, one of the two. And they were looking at a way to kind of build their future. And they saw that a little restaurant in Quilcene was going up for sale, and they didn't want to see it leave the peninsula or disappear completely. So they bought it, kept all those people employed, kind of built a little community gathering space for Quilcene and by Quilcene, more importantly. And as that's grown and as that's gotten better, they have now taken over the Ajax Cafe in Port Hadlock, I believe. Similar situation, a longtime institution in a small town that the owner had to pass on, and it either could have been gobbled up by somebody coming from outside and doing whatever they want to do with it, or it could have been taken over by another person related to the community, connected to it, and it was going to see their customers at the grocery store every day.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in and also add a couple details. So one thing that was super important to them is they wanted to retain their staff from the previous ownership, and they didn't want them to lose any money. So they managed to not be closed a single day. They took ownership on the previous owner was operating the restaurant on November 30th, and they started operating it on December 1st. They did not have a gap. I thought they were crazy, but we're like, okay, if that's your goal, we'll help you. So they started with us with the Start Simple class, and then they transitioned to one-on-one business advising. And after they'd owned the business for maybe a year, they found out their insurance company wasn't going to cover them anymore because they did not have a legal hood in the building. And so they had to get that replaced. And if you know anything about restaurants, that's not cheap. And so we were able to help them put together and they also saw some opportunities for efficiencies in the kitchen, ways that would actually help them to generate more revenue in the summer, because it got so hot back there, they had to shut some things down in the summer. So we helped them put together a business plan, business model, and they went to Lion over in Jefferson County, the local investment opportunity network, and they were able to get the money they needed to redo their kitchen, and it has absolutely helped them be more efficient, increase their revenues, and most importantly, stay in business, because they had that issue with being fire safe and legal. And then, yeah, when the owner of Ajax came to them, they came to me and they're like, should we do this? And I'm like, well, I mean, I can't tell you what to do, but you're really good at this. So maybe you should think about it. And so again, we kind of helped them through that process, looking at the numbers, getting a plan together, and then they have taken it over. So yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and then bringing it back home, and what we were talking about earlier, how a big service that we provide is connecting small businesses with each other. There was a situation that came up with Maitland Manor in town, and Sydney wrote it better than I could ever say it myself, so I'll be reading what she said when she reached out. They'd been operating smoothly and profitably at this point. They reached out to me in the spring because their long-term cleaning company was dropping all their clients because they were struggling with staffing. So Sydney reached out and was like, hey, I need somebody. And as she said, I reached out to you to see if you had any local startups in this space. I provided a list of 3, and they were able to start working with one of our newer clients. They're amazing. They were and are amazing, and they were able to transition to that cleaner well before the old cleaning company's deadline of replacing service. They lost this right before high tourist season, and it could have been catastrophic, but it has gone smoother than they could have imagined, and they're super happy. And in fact, they have recommended them to another bed and breakfast in town. And as Sydney said, the reason I reached out to CIE is, having worked with you, I knew whoever you'd recommend would, even if they were new, would have an advisor to help them build their business into a successful and efficient one. And I knew that they would have the backup necessary to succeed. And then Amy, the new cleaner that got hired, she was a stay-at-home mom under a year ago, and has now made, honestly, more money than I make in a year. So we're doing something right.
Yeah, she said, I went from being unemployed to 6 figures.
Great.
All right. And yeah, next one.
And then our next, again, is sort of focusing on that community. We helped Kim Lapel out in Forks over multiple times, over multiple small little issues. And she has now sort of built a wedding industry empire out in Forks. And I believe that the biggest impact is because of her business and the growth that it's been able to achieve. She is supporting a plethora of existing businesses that existed out there in Forks already. And three mothers who had issues around work and childcare have been able to start small businesses that support Kim and hers. So now there are 4 new businesses that people are able to care for themselves while still caring for their family and contributing to the community.
Sorry.
Oh, no, that's perfect. That was.
Oh, okay, cool. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. So, I mean, we all recognize these logos. Some of them are hosting the Zoom. Some of them are just places we have to live or get to live. Some of them are just the same thing in a different county. And they've all been incredibly helpful with funding, office space, resources, referrals. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without the community of others doing similar things to us out here. I believe it's questions.
Nope.
Oh, no. So
5 ways you can help, but I have 6. So anyway.
there's 2 of us, and we stay as busy as we can. But again, community, it's huge. There's a lot of people out there that we can't meet unless we get introduced to them, or if they get introduced to us. So you can help by referring people over to us. Another thing that our clients really look for is guidance from people who have done it before. A lot of them, that's one of the first things they'll do is go out and talk to their future competitors, because, oh, you started a sandwich shop 5 years ago. I'm thinking about starting one today, and I have no idea how to deal with the health department. Can you guide me through what you had to do? So if you've got business experience and willing to help the next generation get started, let us know. We'll be sure to connect people to you. You can donate. Money makes the world go round, so that's always helpful. We do sometimes have special events that we do where we could bring in another mentor, but with a little bit more involvement, or instead of being one-on-one, talking to a small group. A lot of times it's our past clients coming through and sharing what they've done, but it's not limited to that. And then the last 2 are a little more fun, a little more selfish instead of selfless. Shop with our local businesses. They're doing cool stuff. They're making beautiful things, and they're providing excellent service. And they need money. They've got food to put on their tables. They got roofs to keep over their head. And then along with that, to help people get started, look at investing locally. You can either, if you've got friends and family, what we've seen with a lot of our clients is that often they'll need less than $1,000. And it can be $1,000 for some people is a one order of stock through their brokerage. For other people, it's the key to their dream. And the Chamber of Commerce here in Port Angeles has developed Coin. It's the flip side of Lion. over in Jefferson. It's a way for small businesses to meet potential local investors. I'll put the link in the chat as we transition to questions.
All right. And there's our contact information. There's our Port Angeles office location. And yeah, let us know if you have any additional questions that we haven't already fielded.
Well, great. Thank you so much for all the work you guys do with and I hadn't thought about people that are looking at buying a business, referring them to you guys. We often help sellers that are looking at selling their business and figuring out what it's worth, but then also the potential buyers and evaluating that business and figuring out how much it's worth. And then we often do business advising and refer oftentimes to Sharon Ann, but I hadn't thought about it as, they are a startup and, that maybe they should go through your whole process. So I will keep that in mind for sure. Yeah. Anyway, that's great. So, does anyone have any further follow-up questions? I see Lori put in the chat, we have, I think, 7 or 8 different classes, training programs that are coming up, where the EDC is partnering with SBDC and Impact Washington and others. So if any of those interest you or think they might interest somebody else, please share it. And of course, all these classes are free. Normally the lean class that's being offered, Principles of Lean Manufacturing, that simulation, that's a pretty much all day class that they normally charge $500 for that. So it's a good deal that we got it. We've got a scholarship for people in our area that want to attend that. So again, I see Randy has a question. Go ahead, Randy.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. By the way, I think it's a great presentation every time I hear it. One of the biggest issues, having been in a startup situation, is capital. And you talked about coin as being one step, and I don't know how many different businesses coins loan to, but do you stay involved? I mean, the other step is, of course, you get to the first rung of a bank ladder or some other kind of letter, some other kind of lending institution. Would you just talk a little bit about that? Because all of us, as you grow, that capital need continues as you almost no matter what size you get to.
Yeah, and that is something we can help with. And the nice thing about working with as wide variety of businesses as we do, we know about we didn't have their logo up there, but I have worked with the extension office a bunch with small agriculture. And a good deal of the funding that we brought out is this, I'm a farm, I'm trying to build a hoop house, I can't afford it, but look at that, I can get half of it paid for. And then as they get a little further up, we're also, the way that we structure our program, we don't have a business plan in it, but we have all the information that goes into the business plan, and a template to help them change that information into a business plan that a bank would like to see. And we don't do their business plan. We don't do stuff for our clients, but we have seen enough small businesses go through that banking relationship. We meet with the SBA every week. So we're able to ask questions not tied to a specific person in the eyes of a bank, but just to the funder that gives them the money in the first place. And we're just there to help them take what their expertise and put it into a form that a bank could understand, and realize that the investment that they're offering the bank is going to be that the bank could understand. And realize that the bank.
Yeah, and I think my internet's not great, but hopefully you can hear me. We also have access to some non-traditional capital sources. You know, I know Colleen works with Kiva. We also work with Kiva, which is sort of a hybrid of a lending institution and crowdsourcing. It's specific for businesses. There is an underwriting component to it to sort of qualify you for a level. It's only up the maximum that you can get through that is 15,000, and not everyone's going to qualify for that. But like I said, a lot of our folks, if they just need $2,500, Kiva can be a really good option for them. So yeah, so you know, we're able to help people get very creative. And I think that's really where we're at, is like, okay, you're not bankable yet. What can you do? Where can we get you that initial bit of funding to get this rolling? And so we've helped people do a number of different routes. So yeah.
Yeah, and just to add on to that a little bit too is we start small, and the business, with the way that we start, when the businesses are at a point where they're able to grow, they'll often have 2 to 3 years of paper history of their business that they can use as evidence for their future projections. I helped a client get approved for a SBA 504 loan for over $500,000. As they were discussing among their partners, they realized that the property they were looking at purchasing wouldn't actually suit them. So they, again, kind of going to that definition of success. But it was 2 people who started a business with sort of off casts from those around them, and are now at a point where a bank is willing to give them $500,000, and they're able to decide, you know what, we'll save this money for later.
Yeah, and I should also mention, we also have relationships with credit unions and community development financial institutions, or CDFIs, that are very interested in working with our clients at this grassroots level. And so again, it's more about we have these relationships, and then we can figure out where's the best place to send somebody, what's the right fit, or which 3 places should we send them to shop around for the right financing for their situation. So we're kind of the experts of the unbankable, is how I would put it. So,
And long existing businesses find themselves being unbankable sometimes too.
true. It's true.
Well, and what I was going to say, the unbankable, I understand. The reason I've always been such a great supporter of the EDC is because the banks locally at that time, that was many years ago, couldn't bank me, but the EDC found a bank in Grays Harbor that actually paid attention to us. So, you know, everything you said is absolutely important and just vital, you know, to the survival of some companies. So.
All right. Well, hey, thank you guys once again. Really appreciate you joining us and sharing about your program. We will have the recording up on our website later today. And again, we really appreciate the partnership and the work you guys do to help the small businesses, which are just about every business in our county, exist and thrive. So with that, everyone, enjoy your day, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.